Hi, fourth grade. It's Miss Hershey. I missed you all. Today we'll be talking about measurement and the 4 different types and units that go with. Take notes as you go. I've posted blank notes on our Google Classroom that follow along if you would like to use those. Pause and rewind as needed in case I go too fast. Okay, there are 4 main categories for measurement that we talk about in math and that we solve problems using. We're going to talk about length, volume and capacity, which would be liquid volume, how much something takes up. We're going to be talking about weight and mass, and we'll be talking about time, meaning seconds, hours, minutes, and years, decades, etc. We have 2 different measurement systems. So the metric system is used in all of these places that are green. It's pretty much used worldwide, except the US and apparently Liberia and Burma. We use what's called the customary system. Now, the metric system is used in the scientific community pretty much exclusively. That's why we use centimeters and milliliters in labs and things. And it's used worldwide. It's easier, honestly, and so that's why it's a more well-known system. And so we're going to talk about the units for both of those. Today we're going to be discussing relative measurements. That means we're not talking about the exact measurement, how much it is, or how much one equals another. We'll be thinking of items that are about that size to give you an idea of what these units really are. So an inch, you can think of a small paper clip, a foot, a floor tile, yard, the space from the ground to a doorknob, and mile is like a distance that you drive. It's pretty long. I want you to take a second as we go through these and think of an object that's similar to this and really try to picture it in your brain. And when you're taking notes, you can write down here objects that are about that length. Now let's check back and see what objects Ms. Hershey put as examples. I did width of your middle knuckle, so that would be right here, like if you put your finger like this space. I did the length of a baseball bat for a yard, the length of a sheet of paper for a foot, and 4 laps around the track. Now the only one of these that is exact is this mile here. 4 laps around a track is exactly a mile, but a baseball bat, a piece of paper, and the width of your middle knuckle, those are relative. They're about. It's like an estimation. Okay, for metric length, you'll notice that meter is in every single one of these words. We've got millimeter, centimeter, meter, and kilometer, or kilometer. And what is going on is we've got these prefixes that show the relationship they have to a meter. So a millimeter, milli means 1,000, and so a millimeter is 1,000 times smaller than a meter. A centimeter, centi, means 100, where you can think about the Spanish word for 100 is cien. So 100 centimeters fit in 1 meter. A kilometer, kilo, also means 1,000, but it's 1,000 times bigger than a meter. So take a second and think of an example for each one other than the one that's already listed that would go with. Pause me while you think about it. Okay, for a millimeter, the 2 examples that I'm going to give you, you have a pencil point here, and you can also think about the width of a grain of rice. Very, very small. Okay, a centimeter is 10 millimeters, so it's a little bit bigger. It's like if you put 10 grains of rice next to each other. I think about it as the width of my pinky right here, just like it shows here. Or we can think about the length of a grain of rice. A meter is basically the same as a yard. A meter is 9/10 larger than, not 9/10, 9/100 larger than a yard. So it's very, very similar, which is why I put another baseball bat. And then a kilometer is very similar to a mile, except we don't use it in the US, so I put a bus from London because in London you would measure distances that you drive in kilometers. Here we're talking about capacity. I'm going to use a blue pen because we're talking about liquid capacity. I see here we've got customary on one side and metric on the other. I'm going to make a line down the middle to do my best. You are going to match these different objects and see which one is about or a relative measurement for fluid ounce, cup, pint, quart, gallon, milliliter, and liter. Take a second and do that and pause the video here. Now let's check our measurements. For fluid ounce, so that's like 4 spoonfuls, is going to be like a Chick-fil-A sauce. It's not a lot of liquid. Cup, hopefully you put your milk from school. Pint, so 2 cups equal 1 pint, and so that's a pint, like one of those little personal size ice creams. A quart is going to be like a mid-size orange juice, not the biggest one you can get, but like the medium one. And then if you put 4 of those orange juices together, those quarts, you get a gallon. And we're going to use our big jug of milk here to represent. For metric, we only have a couple measurements that we use a lot for metric capacity. Milliliter, super small, a drop from an eyedropper. That's what we use in science when we're measuring liquid as well, and what we have for our graduated cylinders. And then for liter, I covered it up, but it says liter, and we're going to use this big Topo Chico thing. You can also think about the big soda bottles, like family size ones. That's 2 liters, so we're thinking half of that. Customary weight. So now we're talking about how, when you hold something, how heavy does it feel? Ounces, pounds, and tons. I want you to think about where this bread and this baseball and this hippo would go. Okay, hopefully you're actually thinking and pausing me, but I'm going to keep going. A slice of bread is going to be an ounce. Now you may say, Ms. Hershey, we just talked about ounces in capacity because an ounce is a measurement for how much liquid something holds. There's a liquid ounce and there's like a fluid ounce, and then there's an ounce that's weight. And they equal different things, but they're both. So if you're holding a piece of bread, that's about how heavy an ounce is. If you're thinking about a fluid ounce, how much liquid, think about that Chick-fil-A cup. And I wrote here that they're used for both. 1 cup equals 8 ounces and 1 pound equals 16 ounces. Pound is abbreviated LB, and I always remember because LB looks very similar to 16. See? Good trick. All right, a pound. So think about a can of beans or a can of something. A can, or hopefully you matched the baseball. And then a ton, a giraffe, or our hippo. So anything really big, animals, or like semi-trucks are going to be measured in tons. A ton is 2,000 pounds. Very large. I literally hate watching myself video this, so I hope you guys are enjoying it. Metric mass. Mass is very similar to weight. We know that they are different when gravity is different, but because we're measuring everything on Earth, mass and weight, nothing's going to change. It's going to be the same. But we have different units of measurement. So these are the measurements that we would use in science. A milligram, a gram, and a kilogram. Go ahead. You can see again that they have the same prefixes, milli and kilo. and gram is like our base, or just 1 unit. Go ahead and see if you can match these 3. Okay, hopefully you match them. A milligram, it says imagine holding a grain of salt. So we're going to match, you guessed it, that grain of rice. I always think of a single piece of sugar. So if a piece of sugar is a milligram, that means a gram is going to be a pack of sugar. Okay, and then a kilogram is going to be about the weight of a dictionary. If we were at school, I was going to do a fun matching game with this, and you're going to do it in groups, and then, but whatever. Okay, we're going to do some practice questions. I'll read you the question, and then you should decide which units would be best to measure how much is in something. All right, I'm measuring the amount of juice in my juice box. Which unit should I use? Milliliters, think eyedrop, or liters, think Topo Chico. Hopefully you picked milliliters. What units should I use to answer how heavy is this watermelon? Pounds, ounces, tons. The correct answer is pounds. If you go to the grocery store, they will be measuring watermelon. You can see how many pounds it is. What units should I use to answer how tall is it from the floor to the ceiling? 1 inches, 2 feet, 3 yards, 4 miles. When you're answering this, inches is too small. Feet, that could be it. Yards, that could be it. Miles, no. I'm going to say these are both good answers, but feet is going to be the best answer. I'm measuring the amount of water in my hot tub. What units should I use? Pints, cups, gallons, quarts. Pints is like ice cream, too small. Cups, that's like a glass of water, that's too small. Gallons, that's big. Quarts, that's pretty big, but gallons is the biggest, so we're going to pick that one. I'm measuring the fence around my backyard. What unit should I use? Meters, millimeters, centimeters, kilometers. The correct answer is going to be meters. Millimeters is going to be like the tip of your pencil, and centimeters is going to be the width of your pinky. Those are way too small. Kilometers is a distance you drive that's way too big. There are a lot of different measurements, and it's a lot, but you don't need to memorize them because I'm going to show you here in a second your 4th grade cheat sheet, and I've already put a copy of it in the classwork section of our Google Classroom. Here is your star chart. You can see that there are a bunch of different categories. Draw a vertical line between customary and metric. So I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to draw a line straight down the middle. Well, it's not straight, but it's down the middle. We've got customary on one side and metric on the other. So our star chart already sorts it for us. Then we're going to list the 4 measurement categories. So when I'm looking for that, I'm looking for these headings: length, volume and capacity, weight and mass, and time. Those are our 4 measurement categories. And we can see within that the customary units we went over and the metric units. Now it says, why is YD written next to yard? That's a great question. Everything written in these little parentheses are abbreviations. And so a lot of the times we don't write out the whole thing. We write just what's in those little abbreviations to stand for the longer word. And you can write those as well. I want to point out the weird ones. Most of them make sense with the letters. However, pounds is LB, which is weird, and ounce is OZ. And then for fluid ounces, we're going to write FL for fluid and OZ for ounce. So that's our star chart. I hope this was helpful. Bye. Love you all.